Well, welcome back to Hurley's Hobbies. Well, I got the fuselage level, square, with the table. The table's level both ways. And this has so much flimsy in it. I think I'm going to put this piece in here first. It just goes to the outside of each rib. I'm going to glue that in there because there's a stiffener that's supposed to go here, which is like 1/4 by 3/8. I already have that cut for here. And then I need to put my big 3/8 by 3/8 sticks on here and glue those in and that side so I can get these ribs in. I checked too and make sure this was still square with the table. So I need to get this rib in and get it into place. I have some 1/4 by 1/4s here, 2 3-footers spliced together. The same with the 3/8. This was a 4-foot 3/8, and then I took the other 4-footer, cut it in half. So I have a 4-footer, 2-footer, 4-footer, 2-footer for that side. This plane does not have any kind of manual with it, so you're just going off the plans themselves. But like the wings, they have the little braces on them, so you can keep the wings level when you're building them. They have those tabs on them, and you have to cut off. Um, but the fuselage doesn't. So this is the way I came up with it. I have 4 speed squares, or framing squares, sorry, and I got them level with the ribs, clamped together all the way around, and went through and leveled the motor box with the table, so it's all exactly square. And so when I come through here, I got to make sure I stay level this way with the top here, and then also the right spacing back and the right distance. So I I think it was 6 1/4. All I'm doing is going off the plans down here, off the back of this rib to the front of the first rib, the next rib, and it is exactly 6 1/4. And they're all different. This one here is 5 3/4. The next rib back from the that one is 6 1/16. So I mean, all the ribs are not exactly the same distance apart as they go back. So what I'm going to do is when I get this one here, because I'm going to work on the 3/8 first, this side and that side, wood glue them on. Um, I'm going to mark on the front of like F4. I'm going to mark the distance from here to here, so I'll have it, so then I can recognize it. Then when I do the next one, I'll write it on the inside of the fuselage rib. So then I have it for that one. So when I put these next ones in, I'll be able to mark it plus check with my square to make sure I'm staying square. For now, I'm going to put the 1/4 by 1/4, I think, down here. And these are balsa, if I didn't say that. I do have some 1/4 by 1/4 birch, but they recommend on this plane to use all balsa. But I think, as of right now, I think I'm going to put right through here, right in the middle, on both sides for now. I think I'm going to use birch through here and run them and splice them together. I'll probably epoxy those in and not just wood glue those in. Um, there's another 1/4 by 1/4 that runs right here. I might do that one also, so then I got like 2 of them through here on both sides to keep it, make sure it gives it a little extra strength and it won't want to twist so much, even though it's all getting fully sheeted. I just want to add a little bit of extra strength. So just putting that out there. I'm not 100% on that. I'll find out when I get to it if that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put that birch in there. So I'm gonna start wood gluing these in. And for now, I'm just gluing here, and then I'll glue this rib in to the 3/8 by 3/8 on both sides, and get back so far, and then I'll put the quarter down here and glue that in, and make sure they're all nice and square as I go along. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry before I do the next one. I'm gonna let this dry and cure completely, and then I'll work on the next one. All right, the glue's all set up. I like putting it on with the little brush and the glue, and there's actually saran wrap on here, so if I put the glue down on it, it's not hurting my plans. Now I want to get this one down here put in and glued in. I'm doing it in stages like this because I only have so many clamps. I use so many of my other clamps um, to hold it together. Maybe I should have used the screw clamps for that, so then I had these to do them, but maybe after I get this set and get this rib in, I might go around taking them, undo them one at a time, and put my screw clamps on them, so it's I can guarantee do them one at a time, so I can guarantee it doesn't move, and then double check it when I'm done to make sure everything is still real level. I didn't explain, but I do have pins down here on each side. One in the back here, one down here, and some pins here to try to hold this so it's nice and square and doesn't move. Um, all you can do is the best you can with what you have. I mean, if I had the only other thing I could have done is not built it on the plans. I could have set the plans to the side, took my board off, and actually screwed blocks to my table. That would have been another way, and hook wood to it and actually screw it to the table, and then you could take the wood out later. So, but I just decided this was the best way that I could think of, and because I really wanted to build it on top of the plans, so that's the only other option I have. So I just want to put that out there, and I'm just putting glue on the ribs, and I'm going back and going over them to make sure on both sides that they're nice and glued in place. I don't know if there really is a right and wrong way to do this. You just want to do it as best you can. and try to keep everything level, square. I'm going to put this bottom quarter by quarter on. So, because right now I have this onto my plans. I know this is right straight. If I don't do it right now, and I put the next rib in, I won't be able to guarantee that that's exactly square with the table. So that's why I'm trying to work one rib at a time, my way back, and at least have, some of the bottom, some of the top, because I can't get to the very bottom one. So and this one right here eventually makes a pretty big round up down here. These two right here, they, for the back of the GeeBee. So that's why I decided to go here. And then I got something that's perfectly straight right through here to make sure that I'm right on. So now I'm going to glue this one in. The one on the other side is going to be a lot harder because this board that's on my table is actually a countertop board. It's painted black on one side. They also come in white. I got it at Menards. And it's 49 inches wide. I think 8 foot 1.5 long. So it's actually bigger than my piece of foam I have under here. Some people like to build on like ceiling tiles. The problem is when you get to planes bigger like this, ceiling tiles isn't really going to work because you'd have to use so many of them, and by that time you could end up getting them in different places. So that's why I like using the foam board. And if I remember right, I think this is 5/8 inch thick, if I'm not mistaken. I can measure it here. The problem with the foam board is if you get like epoxy on it, and if you have like fast set hardener or you get stuff like that on it, it actually will melt that foam board. So that's the downfall of the foam board, is it can actually melt your different kind of glues can actually melt it. I didn't go far enough this way, so I had to pull it back out. And just so um give some new subscribers a background on me. Um, I'm almost 55 years old. I live in Michigan, north of Detroit. Uh, I do this in the bedroom of my house. I don't do it in a garage because I don't have a garage. This is my closest. This is what I got. So even at my old house up north, I used to live up by Tawas, and I used to do it in my basement there. I used to build the planes. Um, Not trying to cut down what people build in their garage, but the problem is the garages get hot. They get moisture in them because if you park your car in there and it rains, you can bring moisture in. And any kind of moisture can throw havoc on a plane, especially balsa. It can warp it. If it's fiberglass, it does help to hold it together the right way, but I don't like even storing my planes in a garage or a storage unit. When I'm forced to, like last year when my kids moved in, they had moved back, and before they found their house, they moved back from Alaska, and they moved here a little bit before they moved in with me, but they were finding a hard time finding a place that they liked, so they moved in with me with my grandkids for a while, which I was more willing and happy to do. But I've been flying. I flew RC planes as a kid. Um, Not a whole lot. But I didn't really get back into RC planes until 2010, so it's been like 15 years. I used to was in motocross, so if you go back far enough to my videos, you'll see that it's about motorcycles and stuff like that, and riding and and another thing is I'm a paver operator. I run the asphalt pavers, um, paving roads, parking lots, businesses and stuff, schools. But so the summertime it gets really, really super busy for me to to build. I try to build as much as I can. Last year was pretty busy. I'm gonna try to do. Last year was a little different. With my kids living with me, so this year I'm gonna try to continue building. But I usually work 14 to 16, sometimes even 18-hour days. So paving. So I can't say it's always going to be continuous through the summer, but the wintertime I still work. I help redo the re go through our pavers and get them ready for the next season, changing bearings that wear and augers, and take the tracks off and put them up in the air and take the tracks off and rotate them, and depends on what the if it's time for new tracks or what it's time for. So, but I'm also a truck driver. I drive my own low boy to drive my paver around. Um, so I don't get a whole lot of time, because I'm a paver operator, to go flying in the summer as I would like. Like my planes, I haven't flown my bigger planes in quite a couple of years. I hopefully this year I'll be able to fly them. A lot of times I have like my little foamy, my Cub over there. I fly that around the park. Excuse me, in the back. So, but I was self-taught again how to fly planes. I taught myself to build. I watched videos on how to do it, and mainly you learn from mistakes. And I'm not a professional builder. I do have, I just try to show people what I know about planes. I'm not a big uh, explaining how I'm doing stuff. I try to show you how I do it. That's just the way you know, I learn hands on doing stuff. I'm really good at learning with hands on, putting my hands on it and doing it. And then that's how I learn how to do stuff. So if my videos aren't like perfect because of describing what I'm doing, I'm sorry. This is the way I do it, and I'm not the best editor video. I'm not the biggest computer guy. I do have my own. I did build my own computer, um, and have my own laser for laser cutting these. The planes out, the ribs, all these ribs and everything. I laser cut out myself on my own laser bed, and I do have a. Just so you know, I use light burn. Um, and I have a Niji Max 4 laser with an extension, the bed extension on it. Then that's what I cut these out with. And then, just so you know, I'm not like a huge computer geek. I don't know how to write software, stuff like that. I know how to use a computer. I know how to build them, but I'm not like big computer geek. All right, I'm going to bring in a little closer on the next one. This next one from the back side of this one to the front of the next one is 5 3/4. So I marked up here, marked right there. I probably should mark down here. I didn't do that yet. I have an idea where the 5 3/4 is on the right ribs. So to make sure I do the right ones, especially down here, I'm going to try to mark it, which it should be this one and this one. Mark those. Mark there to make sure I glue the right ones. And I'll get those glued up. As you can see, when I put that level on there, it's falling right on the line, right where it's supposed to be. So that's good. Now that I got all my clamps in, I'm going to go in with my tape measure and just double check it. It'll be better if I actually had the right side. Well, I been figuring it out, figuring the plane out a little bit with the plans. I got this. I epoxied this side over here on off camera. I put these 3/8 or ½ inch triangle pieces here, 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 down here, and right here on this wall. I still got to do that side. Just to put that in perspective. I got this F6 just sitting in here. It is not glued in. The reason why I did that is because if you look at F7, and I'll get F8, F7 is not cut. If you'll notice here, and F8 goes from an angled, which has got a little bit of an angle on it, to F8, which the 3/8 twist and goes flat, and it goes flat the rest of the way back. So they didn't put this cut in there because of that twist changes to a flat on this 3/8 stringer right here going down. The reason why I didn't build this upside down, because this is designed to lay flat on the plans through here, is because this actually sticks above the 3/8 stringer, actually sticks above it, and it needs to be sanded flat down and until you get to the twist. If you understand, because this 3/8 stringer, I'm trying to explain it. This 3/8 stringer goes on a little bit of an angle, and then once it gets here, it twists flat. So I have these clamps on here because I started to twist myself. I clamped this on to try to get them flat. I soaked this with 3/8, or I soaked this 3/8 with um, Windex to try to get this to twist. Because Windex, for some reason, I think it's the ammonia, and it actually softens the wood, and it'll hold its shape better. I know it might bounce back some, but I wanted to try to get that twist in there. So that's why I put this one in, because it needs to be formed to this. So before I move it, I'm going to glue this one in, and then I'm going to come through with my sander, and I'm going to sand all this flat up to here, maybe a little bit past through here. So then once I get this put in, I can take the clamps off, and I'm going to take this jig, and I'm going to reorganize it. So the plans, the front right here is hanging over my table because of this. The front motor firewall will be hanging over the table. Then the rest of this will be sitting flat on the plans, and I can pin it to the plans. And then I'll finish building the rest of the way back, laying upside down flat on the plans. The reason, like I say, the reason why I didn't do that in the beginning is because these actually stick up higher than the plans, and you're going to have to, I thought about just taking and shaving side of this off a little bit, because it does get sanded off to the round, but I didn't like that. I want this to be flat, so that's why I did it this way and built it the way I did, and then I could take it and flip it over and put it on upside down on the plans. So hopefully that makes sense to you, what I'm trying to say. If not, when I get to that part, maybe it'll make more sense then. But before I do that, I want F6 glued in. I want my wing roots glued in. I want the rest of these glued in on the other side. And this ain't just glued in, I epoxied these on. And this front motor mount right through here, the motor box, there's supposed to be a piece glued on to the top here, a 3/4 triangle gets glued onto the front of this. Since I won't be able to get to it after I flip it over, I'm going to cut a piece of 3/4 and glue it on that before I flip it over. I'm trying to get everything I can glued to it now, so when I go to move it, it'll take less chance of it twisting. I know it's going to twist a little bit, because I'm going to actually take it off of my homemade jig here, and I know it's going to twist a little bit, but once I glue it back to the plans and I get the rest of these stringers in, it'll hopefully take that back out of it and hold it out of it. So, I know it might have been a little bit more difficult to build it this way, to have to brace all of these underneath, put all these framing squares up here to get it to this point. But the biggest thing, like I say, was because of this. I did know it's supposed to have been built upside down. I should have explained that in the beginning, but this is why I did it this way, so it's flat. It's flat this way. See, I got my square across here. It's all flat, every way, level, both ways. Everything is so I could get it this far, so I can get past this ridge on this 3/8 stringer. Like I say, I could have probably sanded that edge off of there, but I didn't want to do it that way. I wanted to try to get this edge as crisp as I can. So that's why I did it this way. So now I'm going to epoxy this stringer on. I marked my ribs already where they're going to contact, so I can put glue on it, put them on there, and glue that or epoxy that in. And like I say, I got to put these triangle pieces on that side and this front one on, and also glue this rib in. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to get those epoxied and everything glued in, and then we can get this jig off. And I'm probably going to rotate it around to the nose will be over there on that side now of the table. I have to move everything and rearrange everything, but that's my plan for now. Okay, I'm going to put this piece in. It goes in here. I cut it to length, and I just tapered the sides. And then I take a sanding block and I sand all the burrs I can get off of it. And on this back corner right here, this I actually sand that a little flat. If you look at that, you see that I sand it a little flat, just because when we epoxy that, there might be a little bit of epoxy that wants to hold it off of it, and I want to fill that with epoxy anyway. So, okay, I got a heavy coat of epoxy on there. All right, got that piece in. So now we'll work on to the triangle pieces on the other side. Now I got everything glued in. I'm gonna let it set, and while it's sitting, I'm gonna get everything cleaned up, get all my wood moved. So then, once I'm gonna let this set for a few more hours, and then I'm gonna undo it, and I'll get it moved over there and get it set onto the table. After I sand this, I want to make sure I sand this before I move it, and so I just really wanted to stress how, you're if I would have built this upside down, you would have had a hard time figuring out how to cut these, level these off. If you would have done it flat on the table, I still feel like this would have been raised up off the table. So I'm just trying to explain the why I did it the way I did it. So we'll let this set, get everything cleaned up. We'll be back. All right, I got this sanded. I mean, it wasn't very much I had to take off. I used my big 22-inch sanding block, went across it, went this way, and got it all there. Just took my time, went really light, not really even push it on it, just moving it back and forth and let it sand it. So I think I'm there. So now I'll get it off, get this all the tore apart, get it moved over, and get it pinned to the plans, and I'll bring you back. Okay, I got that cut. I didn't leave that little piece on there on each side. I'm going to fit this in there and see how it looks. Actually looks really good. I can twist it a little bit, get it flat. Same with that one. I think that's going to work out good. So I want to get this level in here. I don't think this one's tall enough. What is? Now I'll get this glued and we'll get it in there. Put my writing forward. Alright, we're going to let that set and dry. We're going to get F8 glued in. So if you happen to notice on F8, one of these, they join in together right here. The quarter by quarter that come from here to here join together. I can't remember if it's the top or bottom, but you're going to have to, when those go in, they're going to be joined. So So what I did here is these ribs are trying to like really bow because there's so much tension. So because I'm really trying to pull this 3/8 flat and it's flexing this, so I just want to make sure it's dry straight, dry square, which it is. So that's why I just put all that on there.